So this is a quick recording of the Vyuh Framework, which is a framework for building really large-scale apps to the scale of super apps, where you can actually combine multiple mini apps and expose them inside one app experience. And what you're seeing right now in front of you is a CMS on the left-hand side and the app which is running inside a simulator on the right-hand side. And all of the content that is powering the app is coming from a CMS. And it allows you to create server-driven UIs, where making simple changes would not require you to actually deploy the app on the App Store. And it is very dynamic, very real-time, and can be deployed to all the devices within a few minutes based on the CDM propagation. So let me give you a quick walkthrough of how this works and how we can go about creating content, managing, changing, and seeing those changes live on the device. And this is a developer-centric view, but this is also the view that the customer will finally see when they see the deployed version of the application. So what you're seeing right now in front of you is the home page, the landing page of your entire demo. And we have created a bunch of demos over here, which showcases the framework, the tools, and a few applied examples in case of the movies and the news and media and QSR domains. We'll go through some of them very quickly right now. So now you can see that the content over here is actually powered by a page. And in the CMS, you have a route which represents this particular page or a screen. And what you're seeing right now is that particular route or the page itself. Now this has a specific structure, and one of it is the path, which is useful when you're deploying it to the web to get SEO-friendly URLs. And you have different regions on the page, and one of them, the primary region right now, is the body region, which shows you the same things which you're seeing on the screen right now. So you have a group, and group represents a collection or a list of items. Then you have a divider, and then you have a group again. And that's exactly what you're seeing right now. So if I just change the divider to move to the top and refresh the page over here, you will see that the divider has actually gone to the top, and I can bring it back down. I can actually move these two groups together and put the divider way at the bottom. And you can see that has happened as well. And you can see this little divider coming to the bottom right now. And the two groups are now side by side. Of course, we wanted divider intentionally, so let's keep it back where it belongs. Let's refresh, and then you have it the way it was earlier. You can also see that this group actually has two items in it, and we can actually go into this group and see what those items are. So there are two cards right now, which represents the specific item that you want to navigate to, and every card has a set of actions, and you can have up to 3 actions. And the primary action right now is navigation. So when you click on this card, it actually takes you to the to the examples, which gives you more details about the framework. But we'll come back to that a little later. So let me go back. And the same happens in case for developer tools as well. Now you can notice that this group itself has this very specific layout where the cards are in a 1:1 aspect ratio. And you can see that because of that, this image is getting clipped a little bit. Because by design, this particular system, the design system that has been used for this particular card uses a way in which the images are filled in the area that is given to it. So let's see if we can switch the layout for the group to a different one. And let's say we go to 3:4 aspect ratio for the group, and then refresh. And now you can see that the image is slightly, it has a little more height, so it fills the card, and you can see the full version of the image. And the same has been done for these cards as well, right? I can also go in, and if you think that this particular card needs to come first, I can just change the order. I can experiment multiple layouts very quickly. So you can saw that I was able to switch between the 1:1 layout to a grid layout like this. In fact, I can do a lot more than that. I can probably switch to the default layout, which is just a carousel, make that the primary layout. And now you can see that this particular group will start looking like a carousel, right? Along with the fact that the developer tools card came to the first version position, which was earlier in the second position, right? So you're able to quickly explore a different set of layouts, combinations, varieties of designs, without having to always go back to the code. And in fact, if you notice, I haven't even touched the code at this point, right? All I'm doing is I'm looking at the content directly from the CMS and using a server-driven approach to render things on the screen. Behind the scenes, what's happening is that this particular CMS talks to a data set which is running on the cloud, and the framework is able to also talk to the cloud and fetch the data in real time. And there's a little bit of caching happening, but that aside, it is able to fetch the data very quickly and show you the rendered version of all the changes that you made on the CMS. So let me bring it back to the way it was earlier. So the miscellaneous, the card comes first, and let's switch to the grid as the primary layout. I'll remove this layout for now. Refresh, and we are back where we were before. Right, so that's a quick view of multiple things, right? Ability to use the CMS to dynamically manage content, change the layouts, and also navigate to different things. So right now, our navigation has been set to a specific location. So let's go to the miscellaneous version. And this is more of a raw demo that kind of shows you the different capabilities of the framework itself. It has a bunch of different built-in widgets like this accordion that itself can have a lot of rich text. And you can see that this is a portable text. And in fact, let's jump to that version now. Right, so let's go to the miscellaneous home, which has the details about the content of this page, right? So you can see that you have the accordion, then you have some divider, and then you have some group. And that's exactly how it is positioned and organized right now, right? So you see an accordion, there's a little divider over here, and then you have a group of different cards laid out over here. Right, and this particular thing is also quite dynamic. So I can go into a specific accordion, I can go in over here, I can add a bunch of things. Let's say hello world, right? That's the classic version of creating something and then announcing to the world, and then we'll make it big. Let's make a big one, right? And if I now refresh, now notice that this is happening inside the first card, the first item inside the accordion, which talks about build CMS-driven Flutter apps at scale, right? So that's what it is right now. And it's happening inside the modular features. So if I now refresh and go into modular features, you'll see that hello world has shown up over here. Let's remove that quickly, go back to what it was, refresh, and then you'll see that it is back to what it was. You can also reorganize things. So let's say that, if you think that the order in which you're presenting this items within the accordion is not correct, you can obviously change it too, as we've seen earlier with the cards as well. So let me do that now quickly. I'll make the CMS drives experience as the first item, modular features is second. And if I now refresh, I'll see that the CMS drives experience is now coming as the first item. And this itself contains a lot of rich content, right? You're able to embed cards inside accordions with rich text, and you already saw rich text in case of modular features, and then you have some more capabilities, which is just using regular text right now. But these things can also be, rich text with a lot of complex content that can be embedded inside. This is very powerful when you're building, editorial type of things or blogs, articles, rich catalog items, product details, etc. Right? So all of those things can be organized using a framework and using these accordions, where the content can be nested very deeply with a lot of rich experiences built in. Now, so that's about the content that you can organize, manage on the CMS, and also see it live in action on the device. Now, this is exactly how your customers would also see it. We are not trying to create a simulated version of the tool, or we're not giving a prototype. This is the real deal. I mean, this is exactly what will happen and what will be shown to the customers when you deploy it on the App Store or the Play Store. Right, and this is a cross-platform framework. So whatever you see in terms of an experience and visuals, that will remain the same across all the platforms. Of course, for the web, when you have a larger desktop, things will be a little different. But on iOS and Android, this will look exactly the way it is looking right now. And that's a very powerful advantage that you get, right? When you're building your apps as a developer, you are seeing from the customer's point of view and not from a developer or a prototype point of view, right? This is the real deal. And the faster you actually make it look like the customer's experience, the better it is, so that you can fix bugs faster, you can find issues, and try to work with an experience that the end customers actually see. All right, so you can also do a lot of other things on the framework. So for example, here I'm showing you an example of multiple actions being invoked and from the framework. And some of these actions are built in, but of course you can go in and do a lot of custom actions yourself too, right? The entire framework is customizable. Of course, there is a set of built-in stuff that we are giving you in terms of what you can do to get your app started. But every detail that you see here, including layouts, actions, the conditions and a bunch of other things, are all customizable, and you can make it look as branded and as native and as per your requirements. So you can do a bunch of custom actions and also built-in actions, right? So here you can launch a URL, which is simply launching the website. And these are all built-in actions, right? So any card can have an action associated with it. So this is just a card that is doing it, but you can also have an accordion item. You could have, let's say, a link inside a portable text, which is basically rich text, also launch these kind of things. Right, so here I'm just popping up a little toast. I can show an alert. I can switch between the light and dark themes. And this is useful, of course, when you want to automatically have different variations of your themes for different types of audiences. You can also do high contrast, low contrast, all of those things are possible as well. You can open a little dialog, and this is coming up as a bottom sheet right now, which is simply pointing to a website, right? I can push it back down. I can open a drawer, which is just a way of showing a left-hand side navigation, which is useful in some cases where you have lots of content, let's say. Good for banking applications where you can organize the different business functions and services in the menu on the left, and then have that come up as a drawer. And you could do the same as an end drawer, which is coming from the right-hand side. It's the same thing, but not coming from the right-hand side. These are all meant for more complex applications, but in this case, it's more of a demo to show you that it's actually possible. And finally, of course, I have a simple action right now to simply navigate back to the previous page. So that's about the custom actions. We've already seen a little bit about portable text, but here it gives you a little more detail about what's possible. So here you can see that you have rich text, which is of course formatted, and which has different headers of different typography and images, all of them interspersed. And so you can use this to create very rich blogs, articles. You can embed ads over here, and create content which is very useful, especially when there is a lot of media and text which is coming together. Now, one little thing you will notice that I want to show you over here is that although this is giving you a lot of rich text and details, you can have numbered list, bulleted list, dividers, custom block codes and code-like text and so on. You can also do something interesting, which is link between different mini apps, right? So when we launched the demo, you must have noticed that there was this, in fact, let me just go back and start again. You can see over here that you have this miscellaneous as a mini app. There's a developer tools as a mini app. Then you have the movies as a mini app and wonders as a mini app, right? And wonders is a little mini app that kind of showcases the various wonders of the world. So let me quickly go into that and show it to you. And this has the Great Wall, right? And this kind of, it simply shows you the details about the wall, different facts and history, construction details, and show some images. In fact, it has videos as well, which you can quickly play. It's a YouTube video, and then it has a Google Maps, which you can use to interact with the map and so on. So that's just a mini app which has been created for the Wondrous app itself. Now, what's interesting is that although you can build all these mini apps separately, you can also link between them, and which is very useful when you're building large-scale super apps, where you can go from the travel mini app to the hotels mini app, and then jump to some apparels mini app, and then maybe go back to, let's say, grocery and doing some ride hailing and things like that, right? So the navigation jumps that a customer can take it's not something you can determine yourself, right? And they'll be absolutely random. But the ability to create a bunch of mini apps independently and link them up without you having to worry about how you're linking them up is a big superpower that you can use. In fact, the whole framework is built around creating those mini apps with no assumed knowledge about the actual navigation journeys. So the navigation journeys are actually designed on the CMS, and they are not built into the app by design, right? So you're not hard coding any specific customer journey into the app itself, but doing it entirely on the CMS. And you can change it as well if you need to be. So just as an example of that, let's go back to the place where we had this portable text. And notice that I have put 4 blocks as a grid. And this now is actually pointing to the Taj Mahal location inside the mini app of the Wonders, right? And so this is the same mini app that you saw earlier, right? But of course, I'm showing it to you linked from the previous mini app. So I can now go back, and then I'm back to where it was. So So this is a very interesting and a very powerful way of organizing your content without having to really think about user journeys upfront and customize them, tweak them, make them more suitable for different customers. You can also conditionally do things depending on the different cohorts of customers you have. And all of that is possible simply by organizing things and managing these things on the CMS. So this is about portable text. So let's go back and see a few more things. Now, we can also do API-driven content, which I know is one of the most popular ways of pulling content into the app. Almost every app today, puts some content on the cloud, and there is a customer login. You pull the data according to the customer and then show the data using that. So there are some examples of doing that over here, and I'll show you a very simple API which is talking to some dummy products location and trying to show you the APIs over here. These things can also be controlled, but there's a more powerful example about using APIs, so I will show it to you a little later. You can also do conditional stuff. For example, here's a very simple conditional which kind of shows you a card depending on the time of the day. So right now this demo is being recorded in the evening, so obviously it shows you the good evening card. But let me just take you to the conditions page. So this page, which is part of the CMS, and you can see that I have a conditional called part of the day. And there are different conditions for morning, afternoon, evening, night. And for evening, you can see that this is the image which we are showing right now, right? So we have this card which actually says good evening. And then let me put a little bit of exclamation marks over here. You just refresh, and then you can see those exclamation marks also showing up over here. So you can actually tweak the copyright, the copy text, and you can make changes as per needs. Sometimes it's human to make mistakes and errors, so you can very quickly fix these things as well without having to redeploy your application. So this question marks or this exclamation marks would have been, let's say, by mistake. We could just change it and then refresh, and then every customer would get the updated version the next time they see the page. All right, so here you're seeing the good evening card because it's currently evening. Now this particular card is a little more controlled. So it's based on a very simple Boolean condition. So let's look at that as well. And right now it is showing you the true card because the condition, which is something that you can configure on the CMS, has been set to true, right? So I'll set it to false, right? And simply refresh the page, and you'll see that now I'll see a false card. And we have now switched to good night because we just crossed the 9 p.m. mark, by the way, right? So evening was from, I think, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And we just crossed, in fact, so it's just coincidental that it's happening on the demo right now. And we are able to see that the card itself has switched because the part of the day has switched from the evening to night because we just went above the 9 p.m. mark. Anyway, so you can see that the false card has appeared now because the value for the condition was set to false. I actually like the true card because I prefer being truthful to everything, and refresh the page so you can see the true card, right? And that's about showing you different conditional stuff managed entirely through the CMS. And note that everything I'm showing to you is not something hard-coded. It is all customizable. You can create your own custom conditions, custom actions, custom cards, custom content types, custom layouts. In fact, an example of that, which I'll probably just show it to you right now. And so here you can see two cards, right? One of the cards shows up like a little list item, and the other shows up in a slightly larger card. But both of them are pointing to the exact same product card, just that they're having two different layouts. And as a design team, as an engineering team, it's very common to kind of iterate a lot while you're building these experiences, right? So the design might come up with 3 different variations of the same card or 5 different variations of the same card. You could quickly build it and do a demo to your leadership or your management and see which one works well. In fact, there will be cases where you like a little bit of something across all those 5 designs, and you can take all of those and create one hybrid version that works for almost all scenarios. And that's all possible to see together. So here you have 2 cards. So let me just jump to the layouts page, or the layouts route, which represents this particular screen. And here you have 2 cards. The product card is exactly the same, but notice that this particular product card is using the mini view layout, right? And it has a little toggle called show the category. I can actually turn it off. refresh, and this little category that you see here will not be shown now, right? So it's just not shown at this point, but I like to see everything. So let's just put it back, refresh, and you see the category as well. Now this particular card is using the mini view layout. So let me add the default view, right? And make that the primary layout. You can now refresh this, and you can see that both the cards are looking exactly the same. So if you're doing a demo to someone, and you would like to show, let's say, 4 variations of designs or 4 variations of these cards to the customers or to your own engineering management, you could do that by quickly creating these layouts and organizing the cards with all those different layouts and then showing them what it looks like. And it's very nice as an explorative tool, and also for quickly building experiences which the customers would see. In fact, you could have the same card appear in 4 or 5 different ways depending on the subscription tier of a customer. So we have done certain apps in the past where, depending on the tier of your subscription for a hotel, let's say you are in the copper tier or the silver tier or the gold tier or the platinum tier, the card that shows your subscription itself changes and has different colors, has different background images, and so on and so forth, right? So all of those things could be controlled pretty easily by combining conditions and layouts together. And that's all possible with this framework. And you can tweak it without having to redeploy your app on the App Store. That's about layouts. And errors is just a very quick way of showing that in case you don't put out certain things and don't organize or don't register certain types and layouts on the Flutter side of the framework, we are fairly helpful to the developers to indicate what's wrong. So here it shows that's in a certain content. This is all deliberately done just to show that the framework is able to show you the errors when there are real errors and real problems in the whole thing, right? So here it's showing you that there is some content layout not registered, which is why you're seeing this. And all of them are deliberately done just to show this particular exception. It is not a problem with the app right now, right? Here we're showing a missing action, right? And then here I think we show you a missing app or a route. And when some things are not present on the CMS, where for example this URL doesn't even exist on the CMS, we give you a useful message like this. And once you actually create the route very quickly and hit retry, it will actually show up. In fact, we could try that right now, very quickly. Let's say I'll create a route, and right now it says miscellaneous and missing. So let me create that exact same route, miscellaneous/missing, and I'll say missing, but really remove this. This was right. Remove it. Okay. Let's get our grammar also corrected a little bit or small. Okay. So now I can just retry, and you can see that this page has come up. In fact, just to know that we have a real page, let's add remove this page again. In fact, I'll delete the page, and in fact let's try by saying missing page added. All right, so refresh, and you'll see that this missing page added, and no longer you'll see the a automatically shown fallback route or a fallback page for a missing page that you saw earlier, right? Now let me delete this page, right? I'll delete it. It is no longer being used, and it just goes away. So I can go back to my miscellaneous category. You can see that it is no longer having the missing page. Now if I refresh, we're back to the error, right? So this is a very quick way of knowing, when you have problems with your CMS, with your content, and during development time, this gives you a lot of flexibility and a lot of hints to really fix the problems that you have in your app. All right, let's go back. And let's go back to, I briefly mentioned that, you also can do a lot of custom API integrations, and you can build custom content types. So one of the classic examples of that is this Wonders thing, right? So this Wonders is actually a small app, which is very common and very commonly used example in the Flutter community to showcase the power of Flutter. And what we have done is a different take on the exact same app and reimagined it to use a CMS as a way to manage all the wonders, right? This particular app, the original version actually has everything hard-coded into the app itself. But what we have done is created a little schema that represents the entire wonder. So here is the Wonder schema. On the left-hand side, you can see that this is the different wonders that we're showing on the screen. And this is the Great Wall. In fact, let me look at the Taj Mahal one. And this is how we organize the content of a single wonder. There is a specific color, which is a hex code. I know we could actually improve this to actually show the color as a block on the side. And those are all little enhancements we'll be doing eventually. But you can see that you have a color assigned to the wonder. It has a title, subtitle, and then we have linked to specific videos on YouTube, some Unsplash collections, icon images, wonder images, and a lot of details about the history, construction, location. So there's a lot of stuff happening about a wonder, but all collected and compiled into a single location, right? And so it's very easy to manage things. So I can go into Taj Mahal now, and all the content that we are seeing over here is actually shown on the app now, right? So this is the first quote. And I think the quote is somewhere over here. Yeah, so not just a monument, but a symbol, and it was said by Suman. So you see that quote right over here. And all of this is rich text, so you can intersperse, as we saw earlier as well, that you can intersperse rich content with different cards. So here's an example of cards being shown along with text. And then you have a video. Let me just quickly play the video as well. And this kind of shows you, the YouTube video of the thing. Let me just scrub through a little bit to quickly show you what's going on, right? And just like YouTube, you can swipe to bring it back to its original location. You can see the location info. There is some more codes, some more details, and then it also shows you a Google map of the actual location relatively, on the map itself, right? So all of this is actually managed from a single document. And this particular page renders various sections of the wonder and puts them together. So we can actually go back to the route, because route represents the screen. We'll go back to the wonders route. And this particular route is the wonder detail. So let me go to that. So it's called the wonder details. And if you look at this, the construction of this page, it has the body region, which shows the hero first, which is exactly what you're seeing now. Then you have facts and history, then you have construction and location info. So you see facts and history here, then you have construction, and then you have the location info. And let's do something really crazy, right? So let's put the hero, which normally should be at the top of the page, right? Let's put that at the bottom and make the facts and history as the first item in the order, right? So now if I refresh the page, suddenly, you see that the facts and history has now come to the top. Everything and the hero is at the bottom, which of course doesn't make any sense because normally that's not how you design this particular page. But it's possible to explore different layouts, and that's what I was trying to emphasize over here, that you could do these kind of things where you divide your page into a series of sections. You can organize them differently. You can imagine your content to be these building blocks which you give as Lego blocks, to your content authors or the business people and the folks who actually want to manage the customer experience, and let them go about deciding what makes sense for the customer. Let the product choose what makes sense based on analytics and other kinds of details, but let it not be hard-coded into the app itself, and you make a choice once and for all. And for every change, you have to have this constant dialogue with the engineering teams to know how to change stuff, and that kind of increases the lead time to trying out different things, and obviously also the time to market. So let's put it back, the hero to the place where it belongs, which is the top. And now I have the hero at the top over here, right? So you can see that very quickly I was able to explore different things. I can try out different things without worrying too much about breaking the app or doing in a way or working with the engineering team. So far in the entire demo, I haven't even touched the code, right? So these are all building blocks, including custom building blocks that have been created and kept on the side. And they are according to the design system that has been used to create these mini apps. And in fact, many of the mini apps will follow their own natural design systems and visual identities which are unique for them. But you could manage all of that through this particular framework. So let's go back now. And one last example I want to show you before we call it off is this movies example, which is a way to manage, actually this is probably one of the most sophisticated example of using a third-party API to show you content, right? So we start off with an onboarding page, which kind of shows you, hey, what's all there in this particular demo. Say done. And now this loads the movie information from the TMDB API, which is actually a pretty nice API resource that gives you access to all the current movies in case of both trending, upcoming, and so on, and gives you a lot of details about it. And our crack design team has gone ahead and built a small design system that kind of works well for this particular mini app. And you can see that just visually it looks different from what you have seen earlier. And so let me just go in over here, go to inside out. You can see that it has a lot of details, which is the details page about the movie. I can play the trailer. Yeah, so
Inside Out 2
volume a
is
little
breaking
bit.
records across the world.
Please, can somebody bench me?
Okay. So that's about the trailer, and I would love to see the whole trailer myself too. It's fun. So you can also see, different other details about the movie itself, the cast, the voice of Joey, who was actually Joy, and she has acted in different series and movies, and you can actually drill down deeper into these things. So you can keep going deeper and deeper and do stuff, right? So I can go back and to the previous pages, and you can see the top cast. You can see the entire cast actually in one place, and you can navigate deeper into them. So I can go deeper into the cast and see details about what they've done, their biography, and so on and so forth. And I can also look at the reviews for different page for this particular movie. The top 5 are shown in the carousel, but you can actually see all of them by scrolling through this long list if you want to. And a lot of backdrops. You can open up a backdrop and I can actually see it in more detail. This kind of blows it up. You can zoom in and kind of pan around in this backdrop. And the same for posters as well, right? So I can go into a poster, see these things in more detail. So this is all content coming from the API. It is not hard-coded into the app, and everything changes actually on a day-to-day basis, depending on what's trending, upcoming today. In fact, if you had seen this demo a month back, there were a different set of movies which were showing up in the top trending for the day and for the week. So that's about the movies. In fact, when you go to the home, there's a little toggle at the top which switches between movies and TV series. So I can now switch to series and see all the TV series, which are currently live and also, airing today maybe. Right, so you can see House of Dragon, which I would love to see very soon. It's probably an extension to Game of Thrones and specifically focuses on the Targaryen family. But I would love to see that. And it gives you all the details about the series over here. All of this data again is coming through an API, right? Every single detail that you see on this page is coming from the API. And this page itself has been organized in the same way that Wonders was organized, right? So if I go into the movies category of pages and going to the movie detail, which is somewhere over here, and we could do something very similar where you can see that the hero section is on the top and you have a gallery, and I can actually move the heroes. Let's say I'll take the quick stats and move it to the top, refresh the page, and let's try that once again. Oh, this is series, sorry. So I need to do that for the series. So let me actually set this back to, here, and go to the series details. I almost forgot that this was actually series and not movies. All right, so here, let me just take the statistics, which is what you're seeing right now over here, the quick stats. It's not much at this point, but let's take that and put it to the top and refresh. And you can see this quick stats is now coming over here. So what you're seeing is that you can actually define the structure of your page in terms of its blocks on the CMS and make it as customizable as you want it to be. And you can also design it with full power of Flutter and all of the widgets and animations and all of the richness that you have in the Flutter's widget catalog and all of the PubDev packages as well, and build really powerful experiences. You could go ahead and do all of this in the Visual Builder, but imagine trying to create a very complex screen in the Visual Builder. It can get pretty cumbersome very quickly. And as you start creating more and more complex experiences with rich logic, like the way we're doing it over here in case of, calling different APIs and constructing the different page, it'll be fairly complex. But doing all of that using this framework is much easier because we have done a clear separation between pure content that sits on the CMS and the experience or the presentation, which sits separately inside the framework. And I'll cover the framework part a little later, but in this demo, it was mostly about showing you how you can use the CMS to drive the entire experience and try out different variations, explore different things without having to touch the code or do anything by constantly nagging the engineering teams. Right, so let's put it back to after the hero, and that's exactly how it looks now. I can also link between different sections. So these are all the genres of the movie. So I can click on a genre and actually see all the movies which fall under this genre. And notice that I also switched the tabs, right? So there is home, watch list, and discover. And these are actually being switched. So I just jump tabs from the home tab to the discover tab, just like that. And I can also open up multiple dialogues. And of course, you can create a variety of transitions between different pages, dialogues. You can have customizable dialogues that look like bottom sheets, dialogues that can fill the whole screen, have different animations and transitions. All of that are possible. You're just left to the imagination of what's possible with the Flutter framework. So let me just quickly see for kids what's there. Looks like this is a set of movies which you're seeing right now based on the genre of kids. Okay, so we can also do search. So I could quickly search for, let's say, inside, outside. So it'll obviously show you all the movies which have the word inside in it in some way or the other, right? And I can switch between series too, right? I can see the movies, I can see series which have that word in it. And obviously there is even people have this name inside, which is interesting. Anyway, so that's about searching as well. And I can go back to home, and let's go back to our home, which is the entry point into all of these demos that we have been seeing so far. And lastly, I want to show you the developer tools as something that will be useful as a developer, which is good if you are trying to kind of put this app together and you want to see what it consists of. So here you can see that the app is actually divided into plugins and features. Plugins are capabilities that are available across the entire app. And this is a content plugin, which essentially maps a lot of the content from the CMS and creates the Flutter equivalents on the Flutter side. And you can see that we have a lot of items because obviously we are showing you a lot of different things over here built across those mini apps. And it also shows you the features which have been used to put together this particular demo, right? You have the core system feature, which has the base building blocks. And then you saw the TMDB, which is the movies database. And you can see that these are all the routes which are used to navigate the different parts of the application. And it shows you what parts of the content is being used to create. So you can see that there's a movie detail section, series detail section, and we have seen some of that already while we actually created this particular demo. Okay, so that's about the API content, routes. Okay, so that's about the content section. Let's just go back to the main developer section over here. So developer tools is actually very useful when you're working as a developer and you would like to see, how this app has been put together, and if you have the right routes, right content, etc., etc. All of that, is very useful as a developer. All right, so that's pretty much a quick overview of using the CMS to see different aspects of your UI, playing around with things, changing things around, and also seeing how it works, by making live changes and seeing it as a customer would see it when you deploy the application. There are some more examples also over here. If I want to touch upon quickly, that this was just something put together very quickly for a restaurant example, where you see all the quick menu items. Some of these menu items can be launched as a dialogue. Some menu items can be seen in its full detail by, showing you rich text, which is what we've seen earlier as well, with all the related products, ingredients, and allergen information, nutritional content, etc., etc. Like there's a lot of stuff going on over here as well, right? So you could create experiences in multiple industries, create them all as mini apps, put them together, and launch them as a single super app. So this is very useful for large conglomerates, and even for companies which are scaling out and diversifying their portfolio of offerings to their customers. And it's all very easy to do. It's a very scalable architecture where your Design happens in combination of with the combination of CMS and Flutter, and using the CMS purely as content blocks, which can be organized the way you want it, and which is useful for playing around with different things and seeing them live on your device as a customer would see it. All right, so that's about this demo.